confirmed number of coronavirus cases in Los Angeles County comes to 1,205,276. The confirmed number of deaths reaches 22,099. Here in Torrance, the total number of confirmed cases is 6,847, with total confirmed deaths at 180. We anticipate those numbers to increase as the county updates its last 24-hour operating period. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Leslie Robbins. It's 4 p.m. on Wednesday, March 10th. Los Angeles, along with neighboring Orange and San Bernardino counties, continue to meet the necessary case rate and test positivity metrics to inch closer to moving out of the most restrictive purple tier. According to California's Blueprint for a Safer Economy framework, these counties could meet case rates, positivity rates, as well as vaccination requirements to move into the red tier as soon as March 17th. Governor Gavin Newsom's reopening plan originally required a county's case rate to remain below 7 new cases per 100,000 residents and test positivity rate at or below 8% for 2 straight weeks before it can advance to the next less restrictive tier. But the state adjusted its guidance last week as an effort to accelerate equitable vaccine distribution to California's most vulnerable neighborhoods. Los Angeles County is currently at 5.2 new cases per 100,000 people, with test positivity at 2.5%. The state is also getting close to reaching its minimum 2 million vaccine doses distributed to hard-to-reach communities. The state also announced plans to greenlight the reopening of outdoor sporting events, live concerts, and theme parks starting April 1st, with significant capacity limitations and infection control modifications in place. Now, according to the state, once counties are in the red tier, outdoor events can open at 20% capacity. Malls can open to 50% capacity. Museums, zoos, and aquariums, places of worship, and movie theaters can open indoors at 25% capacity. Restaurants can open indoors at 25%. Theme parks can reopen at 15% capacity, and gyms can open indoors at 10% capacity. County public health officials are currently working with the Board of Supervisors to provide an official reopening plan for the county, which can be more restrictive than what the state allows. The Pasadena Public Health Department is canceling a vaccine clinic scheduled for tomorrow as officials learn that people are jumping in line to get the vaccine. Officials announced that a large group of ineligible people working in entertainment, news, and production had obtained the registration link to make appointments for Thursday's clinic. Pasadena officials say they had no choice but to reschedule the clinic. Now, this isn't the first time people have tried to cut in line for the vaccine. Los Angeles County health officials have also dealt with similar issues of people obtaining what were supposed to be secure registration codes to make appointments at vaccine clinics that were reserved for a select group of residents. Health officials cautioned the public, urging everyone to wait their turn, as vaccine availability is expected to ramp up over the next few weeks and more people will be allowed to sign up. As millions of adults continue to get their COVID-19 vaccines, many are wondering, what about the kids? Well, the nation's top infectious diseases expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says he expects by the fall season there should be enough data to show whether children ages 12 to 17 should get the COVID-19 vaccines. Younger children could follow by 2022. Currently, there are no vaccines authorized for use in children under the age of 16, but several vaccine makers are already testing their shots in younger teens and some preteens, while others have committed to do so. The American Academy of Pediatrics issued a call late last year for drug manufacturers to include children in their clinical trials, as there is no way to judge whether the vaccines are safe and effective for them. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as of March 9th, children under 18 made up 11.6% of the nearly 22 million positive COVID cases in the U.S., with less than 0.2% attributed to deaths among children who had COVID. Fauci shared in an interview that he projects high school students will very likely be able to vaccinate by the fall term. Children have largely been spared the worst of the pandemic, typically suffering mild or minimal symptoms. Student vaccinations are not needed for safe reopening of schools, but rather could offer some peace of mind to families, much like the flu vaccine does each season. This would also help in the effort to achieve herd immunity against the coronavirus. President Joe Biden announced plans to purchase an additional 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. J&J currently has a deal with the U.S. government to provide 100 million doses by the end of June. The deal, worth about $1 billion, also includes the option to purchase additional doses under a subsequent agreement. The federal government already shipped out nearly 3.9 million doses of the single-shot vaccine last week and says it plans to distribute 16 million more by the end of the month. The Food and Drug Administration authorized J&J's vaccine at the end of February. And unlike Pfizer or Moderna's vaccine, J&J's is a one-dose shot and can be stored at refrigerator temperatures for months. Last week, President Biden also announced that pharmaceutical giant Merck would help J&J make the vaccine and dedicate 2 facilities in the U.S. The House of Representatives passed President Joe Biden's landmark $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill today with a vote 220 to 211. This includes $1,400 stimulus checks, billions designated for vaccines, expanded tax credits over the next year for children, childcare and family leave, funds for feeding programs, renters relief, and more money to help reopen schools. Now that the House has passed the legislation, it will go to the president's desk for his signature. He is expected to sign the bill on Friday. The world's largest museum and research center is collecting important keepsakes to remember this time in history. The Smithsonian Institution, for its National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C., received the empty Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine vial, the one used to vaccinate the first known American. It was administered to Sandra Lindsay, an intensive care nurse in New York, on December 14th. The museum's director, Anthea Hardick, says these now historic artifacts document not only this remarkable scientific progress, but represent the hope offered to millions living through the cascading crisis brought on by COVID-19. Norwell Health, which operates the hospital where Lindsay received the vaccine, donated the empty vial as well as Lindsay's vaccination record card, scrubs, and hospital identification badge to the Smithsonian. In April of 2020, the museum formed a rapid response collecting task force to acquire objects that document the scientific and medical events related to the pandemic, as well as effects and responses in the areas of business, work, politics, and culture. More pandemic-related artifacts will be brought in and processed as the museum returns to full operations. The museum is currently working on a 3,500 square foot exhibition called In Sickness and in Health that will explore how Americans' efforts to control, contain, and cure illnesses have shaped the nation's history. California Governor Gavin Newsom presented his annual State of the State address last night. The speech marks the state's 40th governor's third address as it took place at Dodger Stadium instead of the state's capital. He highlighted the state's continued progress to battle the virus, reflecting on the Californians who've lost their fight to COVID-19, and also recognizing the everyday heroes who have risen to meet the challenges of these unprecedented times. The first-term governor spoke to an empty Dodger Stadium, one that could easily seat 54,000 fans, which is almost equivalent to the number of lives lost in the past year due to the pandemic. Governor Newsom said the empty seats behind him marked a silent tribute to the loved ones whose lives are remembered forever. Newsom also talked about his decision to enact the first stay-at-home order in the country to his efforts to provide equitable vaccination distribution. He also spoke about the investments in infrastructure, education, climate change, and the state's economy. Now, unlike past speeches, last night's address lightly touched on a few policy proposals and instead conveyed the message of hope and optimism. If you're hoping to get the vaccine but don't qualify under any of the current eligibility requirements, there's still one way you can get it: by volunteering. Whether you can help as a medical professional or would like to offer general support, California's Department of Public Health is looking for individuals that can dedicate 4 hours or more to volunteer. In return, they would be eligible to receive a vaccination as long as a clinical administrator provides that approval. General support volunteers could serve in the role as a greeter, help with registration, or manage other volunteers. You can go online and submit your first and last name, zip code, and contact information to find various volunteer opportunities. Go to myturnvolunteer.ca.gov. Well, with spring break around the corner and summer break within view, vacationing on a cruise still won't be possible. Princess Cruises announced they will extend its cancellation of cruises along the California and Mexican coast, as well as the Caribbean and Mediterranean seas, through at least the end of June. Company officials say they're working with government and port authorities to finalize plans for returning to cruising later this year. For those who booked a vacation already on a Princess cruise, the company is offering guests the chance to sail on an equivalent cruise in 2022 with the same fares. Guests can also choose a future cruise credit equivalent to 100% of the fare they paid, plus a bonus credit equal to 10% of the fare or a full refund. To learn more, go to princess.com. Home Depot announced they will be hiring soon. The chain says they're looking to fill more than 3,100 part-time and full-time positions for the Los Angeles area. Open positions include warehouse, customer service, unpacking overnight freight and merchandise, and filling online orders for curbside pickup. The spring season is said to be one of their busiest times of the year. Home Depot is the largest home improvement retailer in the United States, supplying construction and hardware products and services. Interested job seekers can apply in person by visiting a store or go online to careers.homedepot.com. Disneyland theme park could reopen at limited capacity as soon as late April. According to Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Chapek, the company plans to reopen the Anaheim park in about a month and bring back thousands of furloughed workers. California health officials announced last week that theme parks could reopen by April 1st in counties that have reached the red tier in the state's 4-level blueprint for a safer economy. Now, Disney officials say Disneyland and California Adventure could potentially reopen earlier, but said it will take time to recall nearly 10,000 employees and cast members and retrain everyone to ensure proper protocols are followed and everyone understands the new safety requirements. When the park does open, the capacity will be limited to just 15%. But when Orange County moves into the orange tier, the capacity will be allowed to increase to 25% and then to 35% when it reaches the yellow, least restrictive tier. Only in-state visitors will be allowed at this time. Well, before we go, at the end of each program, we like to share stories from our community. Feel-good pictures, images, and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. A Northern California resident showed his gratitude for the Torrance Public Library and their wonderful services recently. Michael Wolford, who used to live in Torrance, who now resides in Lassen County, uncovered an album he had checked out in 1974. He said he liked the album so much that he never returned it. He said while he still had the album jacket for Gustav Holst, The Planets, the record was no longer available. He reached out to library staff to apologize and offered to pay for the record because it brought him so much joy over the years. Well, city librarian Yolande Wilburn says she explained to Mr. Wolford that they've deleted his account and forgave the charges from years ago. Well, this week the library received a very nice handwritten note of gratitude along with a check for $150, thanking the library for all that they do. What a great story, and what a great reflection of how much our city services mean to the community, whether you live near or far. Now, if you have a great story, upcoming event, a photo, video you'd like to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that's our update for COVID-19 today. Be sure to join us again tomorrow as Ben McCain brings you the latest. Please be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.